Hello, I hope you're having a wonderful day so far. Today, I wanted to check in to talk about this false sense of opposition between self and community, self and the world, self and others. If you're dealing with the healthy form of self and the healthy form of any group, there is never going to be a need to eliminate the self for the well-being of the group and enter compatibility. This is a conversation that I think is happening all around, and it's ignoring all the very important nuanced aspects of humanity. I'm not sure if all of this is based on some agenda, if it's intentional or not, but whatever it is, I'm here to hopefully support you in eliminating the damage that can happen if we ever destroy the self in favor of community, because we cannot have one without the other. And that goes both ways. My name is Crystal Marie Seeley, and you are joining me for Conversations with Crystal Marie. Hi. If this is your first time, I'd like to invite you to connect with me on Instagram, on Patreon, and on YouTube. Sometimes I'm on LinkedIn, but not all the time. And I hope that what you find there inspires you. In all things, my invitation stands always. Embrace what resonates and release what doesn't. I personally believe that if we are to truly develop ourselves, we cannot and will not always agree with everything that others say, even if those others are people that we admire or really agree with most of the time. It is human to have different lenses on things. And that is also a huge part of what lends to the value of self in community. In a world where we keep saying self equals narcissism, and as someone who's dealt with narcissists, the real ones, not this one that we throw around as an insult to people who we think are arrogant, it is very dangerous to plant the idea in a society that self equals narcissism. So, in what I hope is a short few minutes, I invite you to consider that self equals healthy community. And this is where compatibility enters as well. For my whole life, I have always said that the outside of your big toe doesn't really interact with the inside of your stomach genuinely, but that the human body needs both for very important functions. And not all of those functions are articulated. You may think you just need your big toe for balance, but the nerves and blood vessels and everything that connects in there are important for so much more in your body than just balance. Every part of you is important, even if it isn't compatible in direct contact. And this is why, if everyone is forced to be the same, it doesn't work for society. In fact, that is what cancer is in the body, when all cells become the same. When cells are specialized in the body and they function in the way that they're supposed to, in the way that they are naturally, innately, and inherently supposed to, the whole body works well. And the same is true for society. I'll dive a little deeper into this with a video on Patreon, but I wanted to come on here to share this. Self-discovery, self-acceptance, genuine self-love is the only thing that can overflow for a healthy society. And a truly healthy society has whole individuals. Yes, individuality is not a threat to the well-being of society. Whole individuals who are healthy and understand how what they are innately can contribute well to the whole that is our global society, our world, our community. And the self in isolation will shrivel and die. And so the self needs a community that fosters its development in honor of who it genuinely is, its values, all that creates itself, its values, its beliefs. in its innate rhythms and cycles and needs and desires. We live in a society that has worked so hard to make everybody the same that now we think that if someone doesn't choose to enter into debates or argumentative discussions, that they are, what is the word that those abusive advisors use? Unteachable. That is not true. While there are aspects of our society that may thrive in a situation where they always have to debate and discuss and prove, and that is a very external part of society, there is an element of society that needs to find support in what they are discovering, in what they are learning and delving into, so that they can go more deeply and grow more deeply into those areas, those topics, those discoveries, so they can learn more about it and what is there before you start fighting it and axing it at the root before it ever develops. And so for those who need the debate and the argumentative discussion, those who are activists and outward engagers, they are allowed to be that. And they are allowed to connect with community that supports that. It is the forcing of others to become who they are not that damages our society. And so those who believe in starting innately and honoring what's there, and then in that magnetizing and attracting community of like mind, not groupthink as in this is all there is and this is all we can believe, but like values in that, okay, this is who we are at our core. And as we grow and develop, we are on the same page about what that looks like and how it goes and how it evolves. And that community will help the selves, each self in that group, to thrive. Just as those who believe in the debate and discussion will find themselves fired up and thriving in that space, everybody else is allowed to thrive in their spaces too. And this is why compatibility is important. It doesn't say that you cannot exist and you cannot exist and you must only exist if you conform to these things. It says we all get to exist. Maybe not together, maybe not in the same field, at the same plane, at the same table, but we just get to be. We are allowed to be, we are. And in that, when we bring things together as a community, it could be directly from the individuals, it could be overflow in another sense. But always, always, the self is what overflows to create the community. So if we are seeing a sick community, it is not because of individuality. It is because we've never allowed each self to thrive and be whole as it is. Continuous improvement is also a wonderful concept, but I'll dig into that more in the Patreon video. There is damage to that too, if there is no balance in it. So just food for thought. Self and community are not contradictory concepts. It's more paradox than we think. I hope this invites you to not feel guilty when you take the time. And for most of us, it's going to take a lot of time to do self-discovery, to develop self-trust and intuition, to reach a place of self-acceptance before we jump back on the bandwagon of continuous improvement. Seeing yourself, simply being yourself, will do far more for society than you would ever realize. And if you're on Patreon, jump on there and we'll talk a little bit more about that. Have a great day. Bye.
Mommy.